making friends, being friends.
I mean, the story was this. I mean, apart from just being good looking, she was very bright too. And more importantly, she was involved in the VCF, Varsity Christian Fellowship. So, wasn't sure whether I attended the VCF to really learn about the Bible, but to see her like.
Yeah, actually, I remember praying, Lord, I hope this guy is coming for you. But indeed, he has a heart of Christ in him, you know, because later I learned from him the experience that he went through when he was just 15 in this remote village of Barrio, where he and his friends experienced what is now known as the Barrio Revival. And I really understood what it meant to know that the Holy Spirit works, because it's like they were in this remotest part of the jungle, and they're not exposed to literature or speakers as we are in the city, but yet, you know, God has chosen this group of people to reveal himself, to anoint them in such a powerful manner that there's just no doubt, it just leaves no room for any doubt that his presence is with them. And he moves with people who hunger for him, because this revival started with the students. Idris was 15, his friend was 15. Maybe I should let you tell this story.
I was just, we'll come to that later. I'm just going to talk about my relationship with my wife.
Can also.
You see, I think it's very important when you choose someone to marry. I think it's very important to make sure that the person actually is a Christian. Really, it's very important to make sure someone was a Christian, born again, is interested in the Lord. Those are very important things now. And when you choose to marry someone, I think it's very, very important to think about that the two of you must be prepared to have the same sense of humor. It's very important to be able to laugh about the same thing. If you cannot sit there and laugh uncontrollably, you have a problem. Because, you know, the first time when you meet, you know, the romance is there, as Bernard says. But after the romance, then it's very serious life. You get into quarrels. Yeah. I guarantee you do. And so if you don't know how to laugh, very susah. And so I think a lot of the things that we do, I believe you must have your wife or your husband as your number one friend.
Yeah, have to start.
Must be your soulmate. You must be able to laugh. And I say, you know, one of the things I always tell people like that, never let a day pass by without you saying many, many times I love you. I think in a day I will tell Leon and Max so many times that word every day until they get tired of it.
I love you too.
Because the only way you can make it authentic, you can't just use the word I love you. It's so boring to say the same word. So I actually invent words that does not exist in any vocabulary. You know, like the word I use now is ko makala. It means nothing one, but we all know it means I love you. We know what that means.
Actually, it started with so much love. Then become komakla. I love you, komakla. And then it became abbreviated to KMA.
I think you have to be creative about it. So, I mean, I will tell it to them as the favorite thing for Leon and Max. I never pass a day without going to smell them. Because when they grew up, I love the smell of milk. As they grew up, smell the hair, you know. So that is the one thing I never stop doing. I will go there, even at this age, honestly, I still go and lie next to him to smell him.
This is what he does. Okay? So I'll be doing my own business. He'll come up to me and just
one day we were reading Genesis, and we found that it was quite biblical to sniff your son. Because Isaac, when he was old, one of the ways he knew who his son was, smelled him. So of course after that day, then Idris felt really validated.
So maybe after that, we got married, obviously, then we decided to have a kid. And so, at the time we saw our family doctor. He said it's very good. We had a scan. He was absolutely confident. You're going to have a girl. Very confident. So, okay. So we sat down and said, okay, girl, 2 scans, girl, very confident. So we sat down and said, what shall we call this girl? Steffi, I said, Steffi Graf. So then when she delivered, then we had this girl. You tell storyline.
Yeah, and I think my due date was a Monday, and but Saturday I thought I was just having minor, complaints. But when I went in, the doctor said, no, you're staying. I thought I was going to see him and go back for lunch. He said, no, you're staying. But I looked at the calendar, I said, oh no, it's 1st of April. I don't think I want to give birth to anyone on the 1st of April because this poor kid is going to be all his life, April Fools, So I was thinking that in my mind, and but the doctor said, no, it's time, it's today, it's not Monday, it's today, it's Saturday. So there I was, and when the baby came out, I was lying down, and I saw this baby, and something extra, I said, what's that? But I was just prepared for a girl, And the nurse looked at me like, okay, I know you're a first timer. It's a boy. She said,
so that's Leon, actually. That's Leon. So Leon, tell us a little bit about your perspective on your parent.
Report part-time.
Can I just say that this was a very strategic maneuver on my part, because I had no idea that I was going to be up on stage. I thought I was just going to be sitting there cheerleading only. And then suddenly, I've got a microphone. My perspective.
Actually, honestly, we didn't rehearse this. So it's totally impromptu.
I think one of the greatest things, biggest sort of takeouts for me, as a child growing up in this family, is I think just this, just that whole practice of of saying that I love you, be it to your family members or to a partner. I think that is something that I've really sort of held very dear. In everything that I go through, and I think it also gives a sense of just a big sense of self-worth as well. I mean, in a world where it's so difficult to get, so easy to get discouraged. I think just to have those words, playing at the back of your head, and just to be reminded all the time, I think it's something really beautiful. Yeah.
So I think the principle here is build a family on love. Really, to me, discipline, those are all secondary stuff. Getting the kids to perform and be performer at top notch in the school, those are secondary. Our objective in building this family, the first and foremost is the first commandment of God. Love the Lord with all your heart and your soul. Within the context of that, if you apply it within the family, I think you should build a family around love. That's the key, and that's why I say, never let a day pass by with saying that word to everyone in the family. I mean, this is so important. I think you've got to build a family around love. I think that's most important. We never really pushed Leon to be number one in class.
And just as well because I was far from it.
That's what some,
Well, I would say say to my two sons, people ask me, how they're doing in school. I say, oh no. I say, yeah, they're good. They're doing good, What sort of results do they have? Oh, they have ABC results, Ice kacang results. Yeah, but I think what's really important, I think Idris and I, it sounds like all perfect when we talk like this, like Melissa said, but a lot of things we learn, through trial and error. But we do know, I think we're just so blessed that God put love into us first, and only then will we be able to, give love. And it is really very, very important. Learning to love, you have to practice love actually. It doesn't come naturally. You actually learn to love. You have initially this love in you, but you have to actually practice love as well, daily. And to let your children, if you're a parent, know that you love him or her. And not take for granted that, I think he knows I love him. Because I think being human, we actually really need to tell one another. I often think about the story of the prodigal son, and I think about the elder son, because at the end of the day, when the brother came back and he was so jealous that dad has thrown a party for him, for this son that was such a useless son, and yet he, who has been so faithful and loyal, stayed with the dad, not squandered his inheritance. The dad never threw a party for him, But the father said to him, son, you're with me all this time and what I have is yours. And actually when I read that, I thought, hey, actually maybe he needs to be told so. Because the father thought he knew, but perhaps the older son needed to know that the father loves him. So, for myself personally, I took that as, like a revelation that we as parents, I as a mother, I have to let my husband and my sons, my parents, but let's say just my sons and my husband, know that I love them and to say so as well.
Let me build on the story about father and son for a while. Nan and I had lots of discussion, and she was the one saying, look, Idris, your dad gave you a lot of mentoring in the jungle. And I learned so much from my dad, I know how to make traps, I know how to shoot, I know how to use a blowpipe, all sorts of things. But it's challenged me, how do you mentor your son? Like your dad did mentor. I had a big problem with that because I spent so much time in Shell, 23 years there, now I've been with the government for 5 years. So that's a good challenge. So we then said, why don't we offered him, look, I pay you your salary. He didn't get very much payment as a copywriter in Leo Burnett. So I said to him, why don't you quit your job? I pay the salary, but only one condition, that you become my protege. That you and I go through this whole year, because he's a very good, we think he's a very good artist. So we saw the talent here. That's one area he got distinction from beginning. Always very good. So we then said, why don't we do that? And I become your mentor. I will kung fu master you. I will all sorts of things like. And you and I go through this discussion. I tell you, a few months ago, I let Leon talk a little bit about this part of this new adventure that father and son and mother now get into.
Let me just begin with a quick correction. Actually, the salary part, I think you forgot. Okay, now that that's clear.
That's a nice idea.
Yeah, so it's very funny because you often hear people saying, I wanted to do such and such a thing, but my family doesn't support it. Well, actually, in my case, it was the other way around because I've been a copywriter at Leo Burnett for about 4 years, and I was really enjoying the work. But at the same time, I think as the years went on, I kind of felt that I didn't feel fulfilled. Almost like there was something I was supposed to be doing something bigger. And all this while, I kind of spoke to my dad, and he would always say, "Oh, what about dating? That's something that you're very clearly gifted in, why not a career as a painter? And I always say like, no lah, when people ask you what I do, I say I paint. They like, what? I paint what? Paint fences, I paint walls. So, I was very, very reluctant to do it, and it was only until I think there was one day where I just couldn't take it anymore, because there was, I don't know if anyone here is in advertising, that the hours are ridiculous, so you don't have any time to yourself, and I was just getting a little bit burnt out, and then in this frustration I went on this sort of hour-long monologue about how, everything's falling apart, and so my dad just said to me, if you're so serious, so I said, I meant it as a joke, maybe I should just quit my job. He was like, you know what, I challenge you, quit your job tomorrow. I said, wow, really? And then suddenly the tables were turned, because it was like, okay, like, it's not supposed to work that way, right? I'm supposed to be like arguing with him, but he's the one telling me to quit. And so all of a sudden it was like this challenge, like, oh my goodness, I like a good challenge. So now that I'm given this challenge, it's like I have to do it. So I was like, okay, maybe not tomorrow, but I promise you end of the week, again Friday I'll hand in my resignation. Which I did, and I haven't looked back since, because I think beyond just doing, I always say it's so nice to not have to go into an office every day and just to work based on my own schedule. But I think beyond that, I think it's just this season, which has been about 3 months, I've just learned so many things, and not necessarily painting related, but just so many. I think just being free has opened up so many other opportunities for me. Like in fact, I've actually over the past 3 months I've been involved in setting up a new church in town. I don't know if anyone is aware of this church. It's called HTBB. It stands for Holy Trinity Bukit Bintang. And so a group of us who were running a cell group, we came to hear about these guys who were coming over to set up this church, because some of the people in our group went to the original HTB in London. And so they said, we want to get a group of guys just to help out. So I thought, what a cool opportunity. I was really kind of skeptical at first, but so yeah, just having that time allowed me to do that, and now I just find myself doing things that I would never have imagined I'd be doing. Like, if you guys ever come to HTBB, I would be back there doing the sound, getting scolded by everyone, too loud, that kind of stuff. So yeah, like a lot of stuff, and in turn that has also just really grown my faith as well. I've never really been very involved in church, but it was kind of like I was forced to step out in faith, and I've just seen the rewards of that just flowing constantly, and I'm just very grateful for that. So thanks, Dad. Good job.
I tell you, the best thing that happened to me this year, really for the whole year, 2014, not because of Chelsea's October Premier League, it was because of the thing that we saw in Leon. Leon was able to come out and step out of his own and get on to do this painting. And at the same time, he was involved in creating and building this church. That was a fantastic thing, and I had so much time going through with him, discussing the painting work. By the way, in 3 months, he earned more money than he ever earned in Leopold for the whole year.
Yes.
So I said, no need to pay you the gaji, really lah. We will still honor commitment. But more importantly, that's my point. I've got this point is this. I think Melissa made the comment, with God, everything's possible. Everything works out for good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. So I think as a family, when I look at our lives, one of the things, if you worry about what you're going to do, the only thing I can tell you, everything that has happened to me from the day I graduated up to now, I never planned them. They happened the way they did. I never worked in Shell by planning. I wanted to be an academician. First, I wanted to be a lawyer. That never happened. Why didn't it happen? Because I had no PO box at home. So I didn't say, okay, if you give me a scholarship and offer, please send it to my auntie. She was holidaying in Europe. So I didn't know I had the offer. So I didn't go to New Zealand. I had a scholarship. I had an offer to go and study law. So by the time I was too late. So I went to Penang. If I didn't go to Penang, then I didn't meet her. If I went to New Zealand, it would have been a disaster. Then I would have been the most beautiful girl in campus. You know? So those things really, actually, when you think about it, I never joined the government because I applied for the Nauru and Mars. And one of the best jobs I had was I was vice president for retail in Shell in London. We had tremendous time as a family. And we spent 4 years. I was human resource advisor for Shell in Holland. And he was growing up there. So much time with him. Every Thursday I put him here and I carried him. And so much fun we had together. We drove over Europe, go to Denmark, everywhere we wanted to. Quality time and abundance of family time. And we grew up with so much time. And for six years gap between him and Max, he was just 100% focused. 100%. So I think those kinds of things that you do are very important. We were in London and we were so blessed because in London we went to this church in our neighborhood called Cobham. You know, very old people in the church. When we went there as a family in exercise, we brought the average age down immediately. We decided, you know, we go and take it by storm. One of the events there, we went brought the guitar and play with them. They're very old people, you know. So they actually appointed me as an elder in the church. Because they were looking for young people to be more relevant. I agreed to be an elder in the church. Unfortunately, I never really served because the very next week I was then told to go back to Shell in Malaysia. So I never really served. That's one regret that I didn't really serve that. Maybe you could talk a bit about our time in London.
Yeah, I think in London is where we really learned to be family. I took all the notes of Melissa's presentation, her sharing, and indeed, you know, it's not good enough to say, you know, we'll have quality time, because you actually need time. You need to spend time, and in London we had the privilege of quantity time as well, because I think firstly the work culture there, people respect your rest time, that you need time for yourself. So we found that we were in such a place where we were able to have all that time to spend together, and the children were there at the right ages as well. They were school going, so they had a great time making friends and really being involved with school. And I had the opportunity to be involved with the community, the church, and it just had really good work-life balance then, you know. So it was wonderful, and I think London for us was really a period of healing. Besides having the quantity and the time, it was also time to dig deep into our faith and learn what it means to be part of the church as a community. And that really grew us, because prior to UK, we were in a different situation in Sri Lanka. It was just non-stop drama, day-to-day action. Our faith was put to test. The business was put to test. I think Idris learned this turnaround through the hard way in Sri Lanka, because he had been given the key to this plant, and he was going to be the guy who either, you know, turns it up, or he'll be the last guy to leave and switch it off. And we were in a country that was war-torn. He was leading a company that had 100-year history of just being, you know, they were just civil servants. It was a government company, and people just didn't have attitude to work. There were strikes every day. There were threats, bomb threats, and all that.
They planted bomb at the depot. We had LPG, 1,800 metric tons of LPG. The bombs were live. If that had detonated, people had died within 4-kilometer radius. When you are the CEO, at the time it was really difficult. And that was the time, and I was on my knees. really prayed to God. I said, God, I don't know how to fix this business. Really, really don't know how to do it. Can you come and help me? I was on my knees, I was in tears. She had anxiety attack at that time, so it was a really difficult time. There I was, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know how. It was not in any shell manual. I had the strikes were there, and the guys were not there. I had to reduce the manpower by this. It was just incredibly difficult. And so she was there at the time, and we had huge, massive things. When you are tested to the limits, then I realized that is when you really need to go and draw closer to God. And I always believe if you go and push, you have to do things what I call the game the impossible. Always must set targets that you cannot do. If you cannot do it, then you rely on God, isn't it? If you go and do small targets, you know you can do. You don't need God. I can do it myself. But if the target is so difficult, then you have no choice. That you cannot do it. You have to sit down and pray and cry. That is what happened to me in Sri Lanka, actually. And those are really, really important moments. And so I do want to switch gear now, if I'm mindful of time. And I want to talk about family, about my father. 6 years ago, my father was diagnosed to have Alzheimer's. And so it's a very brave man. So my father said, son, I would like to have a party, invite all my friends, and I want to say goodbye to them. So 6 years ago, we organized a very big party with all his friends, everyone bigger than this room. And my father stood and said, ladies and gentlemen, my friends, I want to tell you that I have this illness. And I will die twice. First, my brain, I will die, that part will die, I'm still physically alive, then eventually I will die. But maybe the next time you see me, I don't remember you. And so maybe why don't we do this? Take this opportunity to say all the things that we'd like to say to one another. Let's not wait at the grave. Let's just do it now. And we sang Amazing Grace. I tell you, it was the most emotional party that I've ever been to. And my dad stood there, and he's the head man in the village. And that was the time. I mean, today, 6 years have passed, and my dad is such a strong man. And he prays every day to go. And he says, son, I'm so blessed. You know, how come I'm so blessed? Because I have so much time to prepare to go to heaven. You and I, we don't know when we're going to go. My dad knew. He said he's got so much time. He read everything he needed to read, and he prayed every day and prayed to go. And so when the medicines that are available to him, because of the side effects, he said, I don't want them. And so we've seen how my dad faced, if you like, the end of his life. We were there last week, it was his difficulty taking his food, He can still remember we were singing hymn to him, this world is not my home. And he could sing the Jim Reeves song. It's so lovely. You see the roles are reversed. He was the strongest man in the village before. My dad is really the most able man that I've ever lived and seen. Everything you could do in the village, my dad could do it better than you. You dive inside there, my father would go and dive longer into the water to catch fish. People who go and get beehive, the tallest tree, my dad would be the one to do it. He's just incredible man. And so today you realize that he cannot do any of that. None of the above. And my dad never complained. Never complained to God about the illness. We see that. And I see that, my God, this my father, it's really what the Lord has put into him. This is, I think, I don't really want to die like my dad, but I wish when I grow up and I would have the same strength to face whatever happened. And I watch it today. So we prepared, and everything's prepared. We know which way we're going to bury him, and etc. We also, all of that stuff. In fact, he know what coffin we chose, etc. That's a very practical man, my dad. And so I lie on the bed with him to smell him, and vice versa, because he used to do it with me too. So I think about this, who is so blessed? My dad is so blessed because he knows the Lord. Anything to add?
Yeah, and this is that really showed us that there's no fear in death, because I've never seen anyone look forward to going home, and the home on the other side is so real as I have now when I see his father. And when he talked about all the others who have gone before him, whom he will meet, it is so real. He will meet his dad, he said, whom he had not known as a child. He will meet Idris's grandfather, who was like his dad, you know. I mean, heaven is so real to this man now, and we're just so blessed that he still has some time with us. We fully recognize that the time with him is very limited, and each day we are afforded minutes, sometimes an hour, of like an opening where he is able to interact with us. Other times he's just so tired, he just has no energy to acknowledge anyone or anything. But the best part about Tamak is this belief and this looking forward to his home, the eternal home in heaven. It never seen. When we say heaven is so real, I see that in Tamak. And we really are so blessed.
The one thing I want to mention to you, when we gather as a family, we do always, if we don't come to church, there are days we can't do it. We always want to do our home service. And usually the home service, I would lead the service. When Leon was studying in the UK, we would Skype him and do the home service. Today the technology is so much in abundance and that can be done, no excuse for not doing it. And also, starting when we were in the UK, we always want to memorize the verses that we consider as the most important verses to them, to you as an individual. But when we do the home service, we always want to do the communion. Because you see, in the Bible, Jesus said, do this as often as you can. And there's only one time Jesus Christ said, and remember me. He didn't say, remember the time I healed Lazarus. Why did he say that? Actually, Jesus Christ didn't tell us, remember my birth on Christmas. He didn't say that. He said, remember me. It was in the context of the bread. It's in the context of the blood. Because the full redemption, full atonement for every single one of us. That was the only time. Do this as often and remember me. I don't think Jesus Christ has ever used that word in any other context other than that. And that's why we as a family, we always want to do the Holy Communion at home. Not just reading the Bible, not just praying, but really, really doing the Holy Communion. And as often as you can. And always doing the idea of remembering God. That is centrality to building a family. And I always believe building a family surrounding the love. Because that's the number one commandment, surpassing it all. And so I think that is, the Lord has made that commandment so clear. And I really, to my mind, I don't get to chase the scholastic record for our kids. And let me also say a very practical point too. When you translate the word love to Leon and Max, Nan and I will spoil them on their passion. Whatever Leon wanted, if it is really his passion, we don't stinge on it. If he wants guitars, because that's what he loves to do, that's fine. Max loves football, I'll buy him the best boots. But I don't give the money for things that, because his friends have it, it's not his passion. Sorry, no. That's the time when you say, feed the passion, but not the things that are not important. So you don't simply give love, but you only feed the passion, the things that they're really, really material and they really consider as important. There's some practical tips. I don't have the time to go through every little things that we as a family do, but there are things like that. So why I want to lead to the point is this. In time management, there are 4 very important principles in family. Number 1, must identify what is priorities. I mean, you could choose priorities, how much time for the family, how much for work, how much for friends, how much for Chelsea, how much for fishing. All these, you need to sit down and really say what is the priority. And when I say priority, you must say, more important to say what's important and more important to say what's not important. Most of us don't say this is not important. For example, I make it a point when I was in Mars and so the government, I try not to go to wedding invitations. Because if I go to wedding invitations, too many of them, I die. Every weekend you will be there. You know? So you can't be saying yes to everything. You have to say no. So on the weekend, I will say no to many engagements because that's my time for the family. So it's very important to identify, number one, what is important. Number two, you need to identify what is criteria for success. So if this is important, if I do this, what's the measure for success? So if you don't define the measure of success, whatever you consider as important, actually you become very confused. So if I use context, that's why I use KPI, key performance indicators, because it's a measure of success. Identifying the right measure. The third principle for time management is making sure that you schedule your time according to the first two rules. Your priority and the measure of success. Schedule. So that's the third principle. The fourth principle for time management, that applies to family. Follow it. The schedule, do it. That's when you have to really do it. Then you stick to it. Those are the four principles. So if you did that, I honestly believe I watch almost every game that Chelsea play. There's a game tonight. I'm going to watch that. I get home, I go to sleep. Time management. Get to sleep and I wake up exactly on time. That's the game. We will beat Spurs. So, I mean, this is the point because I consider that as a good thing for me. And I don't, when people say, look, no time to play guitar, they know I play guitar every day. How do I do that? I make sure that the guitar is in the living room. Cannot be in the room somewhere. Must already plug. Only thing to do, press one button, play. So, cannot be getting the guitar, open the box, put it there, another top leg. So you have to really have to do this. I have no, to my mind, when people say, no time for this, that's not true. If you follow principle 1, 2, and 3, you can always do it. So it can be done. In the context of family, all that can be done. But you've got to be ruthless about identifying those basic principles. Let me look at the time. I'm going to close by saying the basic principle is raising a family. First, must build a family first based on a Christian stand. Make sure that you say, I have a Christian family. Make the stand that this family is a Christian family. And so therefore you need to go into prayer, you go and do your home service, you go and memorize the verses when you can and practice it. Number 2, build your family around love. That is all other things called the Kung Fu master type of discipline. Those are secondary. And build it around love. I think that's critical. And the third thing is that if you are a parent, mentor your kids. Be the mentor. That is key. Because that's the only time that you can practice what my dad did to me and now I want to do it my son. Max, the younger one, we told him when he comes back, we will do the same thing. And of course, related to that, love your wife. Since I found her the most attractive woman, cannot be at that time, Mulila must continue. So very important. And finally, the fourth and also the most important thing in life is that relax. Don't get so hard up about everything. Sometimes it doesn't work. It's okay. Sometimes if you are so susah about everything, I always, if you follow me on Twitter, I quote Helen Keller: "Keep your face to the sunshine, and you'll never see shadows." Always look at the positive. Thank you.
Okay, right. like tonight, there are no notes to be taken because I really take the point that Melissa said. All the notes we need, they're really in the Bible. The Bible is really our resource. It's the Word of God. And, when we fill ourselves this reservoir of His Word, we can truly say that it is the Word has become flesh, not just in Christ, but in us. Thank you. Now they want to sing.
Far away, cannot smell it. Leon and I and Ngang, we love this song by a guy called Eric Bibb. If you have never heard of him, go to YouTube, you'll find Eric Bibb, B-I-B-B. And he's got some really lovely blues that are very Christian based. And he wrote this song called Don't You Ever Let Nobody Bring Your Spirit Down. And so that's something that I say, because when we sing it, my voice is not very clear. He said, you might slip, you might slide, you might stumble by the roadside. Don't you ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember, when you're walking to heaven, don't let nobody turn you around. Jesus came to this world to save me and you, and then he repeats, don't you ever let me. This blues is very repetitive. Then I also added my part line, Pastor Chu preached to you, preach the gospel, and I know it's true. Slip, you might slide, stumble from the roadside. Don't you let nobody turn your spirit down. Remember, when you walk to heaven, don't let nobody turn you around. Jesus came to this world to save me and you. Don't you let nobody drag your spirit down, yeah. Remember, when you are going to heaven, don't let nobody turn you around. Don't you let nobody turn your spirit down. Yeah. When you walk to heaven, don't let nobody turn you around. You might slip, you might slide, turn on from the roadside. Don't you let nobody turn your spirit down. Yeah. When you walk up to heaven, don't let nobody turn you around.